welcome to the Wealth Transfer, where we talk about global economics, biblical principles, and protecting and preserving your family's wealth. My name is Terry Sacka. I am the Chief Strategist, and I'm along with Dr. Charles Vance. Welcome, Dr. Vance.
It is great to be on the program today. Man, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world.
Well, as you can see, hence the sign behind us, financial apocalypse. But, you know, we're going to continue as we were getting into talking about China and the Treasury holdings and immigration and how it's impacting the jobs and the real job statistics, what's really happening, because as folks see, the stock market's not doing as good as the financial advisors have been saying.
Who's been talking about that? Who's been saying that for a couple of years now?
I know.
And it seems like people, I've heard this said before like this, that people wait until they're in the middle of something before they start getting ready for it.
Well, yes, and we did have, you know, some pretty good, people are interested. But what we're finding, Charles, is they're so confused as to what to do in the world, because you have the systems of the world from the advisors telling them information, and then you have folks, you know, like ourselves that are given other data contrary to what the advisors are telling them, and they don't know really where to go. So, you know, I do know we have tremendous viewership. You know, we do want to invite people, obviously, to our YouTube channel as well, to our page at Cornerstone Asset Metals, to watch past programs if you would like to learn, because it's important to feel comfortable, because the data we're sharing is the real data, the raw data, and what you're getting in the mainstream media is really spinned up hype. So we, you know, as you saw behind us where we had that financial apocalypse, I wanted to put that up and kind of re-explain real quick, because I kind of made a mistake here when I had it originally as a financial Armageddon and the definition being an unveiling. And I know I had talked a little bit about that. And Armageddon's actually a place in Israel, but it was really the financial apocalypse. The word apocalypse means unveiling. But as we all think of apocalypse, we think of zombies and the end of the world and things collapsing and crashing. But what I find fascinating is the definition of apocalypse is that unveiling, where we in the Holy Spirit, we in Jesus Christ, are able to see behind the veil of deception of the enemy. And we're shown the truth. And what does the Bible say? That the truth shall set you free. So I like the word apocalypse for that. I think, you know, we as Christians in the kingdom, we need, and as we're seeking and renewing, we want to make sure we're in that place of discernment, which is that, of course, that Issachar moment, Charles, you and I were talking about. I got the name. It was Issachar. We were talking about that before we started, and it was time of discernment. Yeah,
sure.
It's about discernment of time and season, and I think that was really important.
And that has to be the individual that discerns that. I mean, you know, I can't force you to believe something that I believe or something that even I know. My wife's son, at about 10 years old, came home from school and I remember them sitting in the kitchen. I was in the living room trying to watch a little television. She was sitting in the kitchen working, helping him with his homework. And he started telling her something that was just totally wrong. I heard it, and I didn't want to get in on a conversation. She said, "That's not right. That's incorrect." He said, "No, it's right." And he's about 8, and I mean, he is fervent about this. That he just goes on. After a few minutes, I said, "Hey," I said, "do you realize you're arguing with an 8-year-old?" And what we do sometimes is we hear something that somebody said. Now, he heard somebody say that wrong was the reason that he kept arguing with her.
Oh, yes.
It wasn't because he made it up.
Right.
He heard somebody say it wrong or perceived it wrong. So he's arguing with his mom, which knows better. And I don't know that at the end of that conversation, he might still believe it wrong today. Well, I don't know.
And you know, Charles, that goes right along with kind of where we're at here. I think the financial apocalypse is actually a very real thing right now, obviously, right?
Absolutely.
We've been talking about the markets coming down for some time, and here they're down some 20%. They go up 500, down 500. Most folks, they're being told by their advisors, oh, you just stay put. We told people, gosh, a long time ago that this was coming, and advisors are saying that we're crazy, and yet the markets are down 20%. People are starting to lose money in their retirement accounts again. If you think things are okay even today, You're kidding yourself. There's something called the plunge protection team, which is the central banking system around the world, as well as top banks that are coming in to support the markets. So when you're seeing the stock market down 400 or 500 points, you notice right at the end of the day, it rallies up 200-300 points. It's not just because the markets were rallying, as Bloomberg would have been saying on the headlines. It's because they're coming in, manipulating it, buying up stocks and doing transactions with money they don't have because it's printed money. And so the apocalypse is actually a very real, I think, term, because if you think what's happening right now in the stock market is already been, oh, wow, 20%, there's a lot more coming. And so they're just masking it and blowing as much smoke as possible. And as we get into showing you how the bond holdings are and the actual real employment numbers, they're telling us unemployment is 4.9%. That's impossible when you look at the real data, and wait till you see where they're going, the actual jobs. This is known as the part-time economy, the part-time recovery, because almost all jobs are service-oriented and they're part-time in nature. That's not the America of prosperity that we all know.
So they're trying to get people to believe something different than actually is what is happening.
Absolutely. There's no doubt about that.
And most of this is done, it's sleight of hand, smoke and mirrors, whatever you want to call it. Right. But it's really just deceiving somebody into believing something that's not really so, that's not really going on.
Yeah.
We've talked about this before. They're selling gold and silver stocks.
Yeah.
In the stock market, which is actually not purchasing pieces of gold and silver. It's fractional.
We're going to show a lot more data on that in the near future here, but you know that the gold is now up to 500 ounces on paper for every 1 real ounce in the vault for delivery.
I want you to explain to people what that is, because some people hear you say that, but they don't know what they're doing.
Well, see, now, they're not going to tell you this, but gold still is a monetary metal. If it wasn't really important, then why do the central banks around the world have it? And why are some of the biggest countries in the world, like China, Russia, people in the Middle East, importing massive amounts of gold? Is because gold is a leveraged ratio product to your debt. So how much gold you have to how much printed money and debt you have, there's a ratio. Now, all through history, there's always been a very good correlation. It wasn't until the 90s when all of a sudden gold and the debt started separating. So what they're doing now, in order to keep the illusion that everything is okay, they're selling gold in the markets, the futures market that controls the pricing. They're selling gold on paper, but they don't own it. So they're selling it on paper, called a naked short. Now what they've done now, 500 ounces now has been sold on paper for every 1 real ounce in the vault for delivery. There's a reckoning coming when you see that kind of figure. The apocalypse word actually is very appropriate here, because if you can see behind the veiling, as Charles was saying, as deception, you'll understand that the gold price is supposed to be substantially higher. But they know gold prices can't be higher because everybody will know that the economy and the dollar is bad, so they're deceiving us with this manipulated price to show people what that means.
I want to ask you who's doing that, because we couldn't do that.
No, it's the central banking traders and the top banks. Now, the top 5 banks in this country are directly involved in selling everything that they don't own, called naked. They're manipulating it, blunt and simple.
So somebody has to give them...
They get away with it, so I mean,
Somebody has to give them the right to do that. Now, I'd like to be able to do that.
I think they're going to call that... No, here's what they're going to call this. They're going to call this national security. Because when this is going to come...
So the government has given them the right to do this.
Oh, there's
Somebody
no doubt.
has made laws...
They're giving them cover, absolutely.
That enables them to do this, because the average person could not do this. It would be against the law to do it.
Unfortunately...
Writing bad checks.
Unfortunately, let me give it to you this way. There's no such thing as law. For the commoner, or we the people, there's laws. But when it comes to higher officials, government, and everyone else that's in power structure, I think you'd be quite surprised how much there's not laws applied to them. There are laws and constitutional rights broken every single day by authority, but yet we the people are thrown in jail for the minor infractions. So they're doing this because it's a national security issue for them. But when you see that kind of manipulation going, when you see the data we're going to go into here with some of the bonds, as we're going to keep showing the raw data, you know the markets are coming off. We don't make this stuff up. They're even telling you we're in a death spiral. So they're starting to actually even tell you this is coming, stuff we've been showing for quite some time. So, you know, before we get into that, we do want to at least let people understand that the most important thing is an education. And so in order to be properly educated, get some information. And here's a good place that you can get started doing that.
Cornerstone Asset Metals is here to help you protect and preserve what you have worked hard to gain. For those who have IRAs to protect, 401ks to preserve, or cash in the bank, we would like to send you a package of information regarding the changes to the dollar and the challenges of our economy that you need to be prepared for. This package includes how easy it is to roll over your current IRA or 401k into a physical precious metals IRA for long-term protection of your hard-earned wealth. For those of you with cash to invest, we can arrange to have your precious metals stored in a private vault or simply send it to your home. Call or register now.
You know, I'm beginning to think we could almost call this the apocalypse show, although many people may not want to watch that. But this is the wealth transfer, because what we're saying is if you are able to get the data we've been showing for years and get the data we're going to continue to show you, that is the real, the truthful data, you're going to see the unveiling that's going on out there. And you will then have the ability to properly diversify yourself. But I understand your financial advisors have a stronghold on you. You have a relationship with them. But you better pray. You better, I don't care if they're Christians either, because you better pray. They're part of the fiat system. And so where are you putting your faith? Look at some of the data. Let's get right into, and I want you to see some of this stuff. China and Belgium have been some of the biggest buyers of our treasury debt. Now, Belgium, mind you, doesn't have any money to do this. Belgium is AKA the European Union, the now pseudo-semi-socialist control grid called Europe. They've all given up their rights, part of the EU, and Belgium happens to be the control center for that. So Belgium was buying a lot of the bonds because people want to know, well, if we're issuing bonds, who's buying our bonds? How is this getting done? Well, they're selling the bonds, and it's not getting done. So let's look at this image here.
I got to stop you for a second. They're buying the bonds. What are they buying them with?
Printed money.
Okay.
No, China actually has reserves, currency.
But they're still
Belgium doesn't have currency. Belgium bought more bonds. Belgium bought more bonds than their entire GDP. They're using printed money from the euro.
Okay. That's
European Union's printing money.
So it's just printed money
out of thin air. And now, if you look at this image behind us here. They have gone from literally $4 trillion in holdings between China and Belgium, and now they're down to 3.4 and continuing to slide. So they have sold almost $1 trillion already of U.S. Treasuries.
So they're getting rid of U.S. Treasury bonds.
They're getting rid of them.
Wow. Who's buying them? Do you know?
It was the Fed Reserve for a long time buying the bonds. They're using accounting tricks right now. They're printing money, shifting money, and then people are buying them.
Well, if you had the right to print the money, you could buy anything you wanted.
Yes. But now, they're saying, yeah, of course, right?
I mean,
I think if we can do that, but if we do it, we go to jail.
Right. It's like writing a bad check.
Yes.
That's what the Federal Reserve is doing, though.
Now, here's what they're saying. They're saying that everything is recovered. The economy recovered. We have 4.9% unemployment. Everything's doing great. Well, if that's the case, here's this next image, Wall Street versus Main Street. Now, you can clearly see the graphic behind us as you see that. Now, the blue line is Main Street, meaning, small businesses, mom and pop, we the people. And Wall Street is the yellow line. You notice that in 2008, when this first collapse began, then they came out printing money out of thin air. Look at the disconnect there. If you notice, Main Street always was prosperous. If you look at the blue line, Main Street has collapsed while Wall Street was getting rich. So that is a classic, truthful example of who benefited the last 7 years of money printing? It wasn't Main Street. It wasn't small business or mom
it would
and pop.
obviously have to be the bankers or the
Yes.
people that were in charge of making the fiat,
Yes.
whatever, bonds,
So,
money, currency.
There's great argument on both sides of the political spectrum that the top 1% are getting wealthy and no one else is. This graph is the proof of that. But what they're not giving it up because it's the elite system. So
Sure.
we want people to know because we want them to be properly positioned for the kingdom's purpose, not for the banking system's purpose. Forget about them.
Rich rules without question.
You're seeing this play out.
You know,
Yes.
in the business world, people say it's the gold rule. He who has the gold rules.
Yes. And in this case, what they've done is gold used to be, our paper money used to be gold backed.
Sure.
Now they're ruling with fake. I'm saying the reckoning's coming where the real silver and gold will rule again to a degree, and that wealth will shift.
Well, you were talking about, and I'd asked the question because this intrigues me that, they can sell gold certificates, as it were, gold stocks, and not have the gold to back it up.
Yeah, those naked shorts. That's amazing to me, too.
If there is and they're doing that with silver as well.
Oh, absolutely. More in silver than ever. Yes.
All the metals they're doing it with.
Yeah.
So if someone were to call in, you're probably not going to call in copper, but if everybody decides, hey, I want my silver or I want my gold.
As a matter of fact, if they tried to call in the actual contract sold, if just 10% did it, the COMEX, which regulates that trade, would default.
It would just bankrupt.
It would bankrupt. 10%, mind you.
Right.
That's
because
how bad it's manipulated.
It's just so extreme.
Yeah, it's just, and they could say, they could really lean on the fact that, oh, you can't use the word manipulated because a naked short's legal. But come on, you're selling something you don't own.
Hey, printing money.
I can't sell something I don't own.
Federal Reserve, it's
Right?
legal for the Federal Reserve to print currency.
Well, right. They're
that
allowed
doesn't make it worth anything.
To some extent, they're allowed to coin money according to Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution. The problem is money defined in the Constitution was grains of silver.
Yeah.
So now look at this next image. This is a change in U.S. civilian employment just recently here in November 2015. Now, this is really important to understand what's happening. When they promote jobs and they say how people have gotten jobs and everything's going great, look at the stark reality here. The green one is foreign-born workers. The blue, Native Americans. Staggering difference, isn't it?
No.
What does that tell you? That tells you Americans who were born here, who our government and Constitution is supposed to be for, are getting the shaft, where the foreign workers are able to waltz right in, cut the pay down, and get them fired, and that's what they're saying employment is rising on. It's rising on foreigners, not Americans.
A lot of the people on the green are those folks
Foreigners.
illegals? They're illegal
Oh, a
foreigners?
lot of illegals, and a lot of actually on visas. They're engineers, they're
Also
mathematicians.
on work visas.
They're work visas too.
Okay.
So a lot of them are illegals because they, so it's a mix.
So
but the problem is they're foreign, they're not Americans.
Let's
you
clear
see.
up. We like foreign people. We just don't want them coming in and taking our jobs. And,
Oh, well,
and the government should protect them.
I think I love all people,
Right.
unless you're evil, antichrist type,
Gotcha.
which there's plenty of those. But the foreigners don't belong here. It's not their country.
Exactly.
We should be looking after America first. Do you think other countries let that happen? No. Only Europe is doing it because it's a big utopic social experiment to destroy the Western culture, but we don't get into that right now. So I'm just illustrating this because the jobs you're seeing being created are not going to Americans. We know this. I'm from Detroit. I know what a good middle class, upper middle class job was like, and I know a lot of people that are now unemployed and now don't have work, or they got their salaries cut in half. Now look, for instance, this next graph. Foreign-born workers since 2009. Look at that dramatic increase in foreign-born workers. That's in the hundreds of thousands, mind you. All of our jobs are going to foreigners. Why are they going to foreigners? Because foreigners will do it cheaper.
Well, certainly.
Well, this is America. Should not we be looking after Americans first? What I get a kick out of is the political spectrum. One side of the politics always says, we're for the little guy, we're for the middle class, we're for the people. And that very same political group, that side of the political spectrum, has been the very one in charge of giving all of the American jobs to foreigners, and yet everybody who votes for them thinks that they're standing up for them. If they're standing up for you, why are all your jobs going to the foreigners? Hey, love the foreigner. America to American people first. We the people that were born here, all due respect. So you better catch on what we're saying, because apocalyptic alarm bells are being sound. The markets are very fragile. You need to be educated and get an education, start doing something. This is a good place you can start right here.
Cornerstone Asset Metals is here to help you protect and preserve what you have worked hard to gain. For those who have IRAs to protect, 401ks to preserve, or cash in the bank, we would like to send you a package of information regarding the changes to the dollar and the challenges of our economy that you need to be prepared for. This package includes how easy it is to roll over your current IRA or 401k into a physical precious metals IRA for long-term protection of your hard-earned wealth. For those of you with cash to invest, we can arrange to have your precious metals stored in a private vault or simply send it to your home. Call or register now.
Now, our country really loves political correctness. I personally think it's a really big fat joke, but let's just say I'm a real blunt Midwestern Detroit boy, okay? And I'm a heavy-duty Jesus Christ lover, but I also know where Antichrist roll. And I'm merely just saying this: we, the people, come first, period. If you don't like that, leave. But the point is, we should be. So if it sounds a little aggressive, I really don't care, because it's my aunts and uncles, it's my neighbors, my friends I grew up with that went to school, that put in the blood, equity, sweat. Oh yeah, and it's my brothers and sisters that went into the military to defend the very Constitution that they're supposedly standing behind, and then turn right around and giving those very jobs to people who don't belong here. Now, hey, you want to come? Come legally. Fill out the paperwork. Let us vet you properly and find out if you're from some antichrist, terrorist, hating America type of group. And if you are, go home. And we should be stern on that. This political correct stuff is for one side of the wing, and I'll leave it with the word wing, because they can fly pretty floppy.
So tell it the way it is, Terry. Don't hold back.
I'm being serious, man.
I know you are.
You know what? I'm going to stand on the fact I'm a Midwest Detroit boy, and I get to talk like that because we're kind of a little tougher over there in Detroit, okay?
Hey, and it's your TV show.
And it's my TV show. But I love we the people. I love America, man. I joined the Army to defend the women and children and defend those people who can't help themselves, because I loved my country. And I don't like to see these very honest, good, hardworking American people lose jobs to foreigners who don't belong. And it's corporate America that's like this too, so don't think it's one side. They're all in on it. I'm merely saying, if we, the people, protect ourselves properly, get ready for this financial apocalypse that's coming, and don't kid yourself, it's coming. We are recipients of the wealth transfer within the kingdom. We then have the resources to protect ourselves. Take a look at this next image here. This is change in U.S. civilian employment since 2007. Now, Charles, this is since the last Shemitah, mind you. Look at this. Green, again on the right, foreign-born workers on the left, native-born, meaning American. There has been, since the last Shemitah of 2007, 2008, a 260% increase in foreigners getting a job. Wow. Over a we the people. Excuse me. You want to stand up and try to have that debate that that's somehow okay? I don't think so. Would any American really think so if they knew the data?
You're so fervent about this, I can't hardly get in. Is it simply because, I want to ask the question, because maybe some people are asking this question, is it simply because they're working cheaper?
Yes.
Okay.
That's exactly, well, not exactly.
But wait, isn't there minimum wage on some of this stuff? How are they getting around this?
It's not that. A lot of it is intellectual.
Okay.
And so put it this way. Let me do it this way. Some of it is because they're actually really smart people and they're contributing to the country.
Sure.
So don't get me wrong. I'm thankful Oppenheimer came to our country, right? He would be considered an immigrant, and he gave us a nuclear bomb, so that kind of helped out, right? So I'm not saying that. I'm just merely saying, though, what they're doing is taking Americans who are qualified and replacing them because of cheaper labor.
Okay.
So, for instance, computer technology guys who make $125,000 a year, $140,000 a year, are being replaced by foreigners making $70,000. And see, that I have a problem with. So these are scientists, these are doctors, these are people engineering, computers,
Gotcha.
and minimum wage and lower wage. But believe me, there's a lot of people in this country right now who probably would love that $10, $12, $13 an hour job. And so I know so many. I saw it firsthand when I was younger. People who came who were foreigners and most illegal, working in construction industry, taken away from we the people, making good wages. So all due respect to this, we're going to get into more data. When you see it, you'll understand why I'm a little bit fervent, because I love we the people, and I think we the people deserve a better country. And we should get this country back for we the people, because we built it, it's ours. I love you. God bless you tonight.
We're going to be back next week right here for more of the Wealth Transfer. Tell somebody about the broadcast. We'll see you then.
Cornerstone Asset Metals has focused on using gold and silver reserves to protect your assets from volatile currencies. Another hard asset that is just as important for your sustainability is food. We believe that preparation is a key to being successful in an unstable economic environment, so we started Cam Ready Food just for you. The Bible tells us that Joseph used the resources of Egypt to prepare for a global famine by storing up food in a time of plenty. His preparation not only preserved the lives of his family, but many others as well. At Cornerstone, we believe the time is now to re-examine this biblical lesson so that you and your family can be prepared for any disaster, job loss, food shortage, or economic instability. You can start preparing today by visiting our website, camreadyfood.com, because food truly is the ultimate currency. Cornerstone Asset Metals is here to help you protect and preserve what you have worked hard to gain. For those who have IRAs to protect, 401ks to preserve, or cash in the bank, we would like to send you a package of information regarding the changes to the dollar and the challenges of our economy that you need to be prepared for. This package includes how easy it is to roll over your current IRA or 401k into a physical precious metals IRA for long-term protection of your hard-earned wealth. For those of you with cash to invest, we can arrange to have your precious metals stored in a private vault or simply send it to your home. Call or register now.